So what I want to do now is introduce our first session, which is all about advancing gender diversity in technical teams. This is a subject that's very topical right now. It's highly important, and it's one that we also have to pay a great deal of attention to. So we don't just have one speaker. In fact, we've got three lined up for you. And so let me introduce the first of those, who's going to bring you her team, should I say. And we're going to introduce the training program manager at Microsoft, Jane Pitt, who's an award-winning technical architect. She's got 2 decades of experience in infrastructure engineering and architectural design, and she's going to introduce her fellow speakers and panelists to you. Let's welcome Jane Pitt. Good morning, Jane.
Thank you, Michael, for that introduction. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jane Pitt, and I'm thrilled to be part of this C3 Global Cloud Skills event with this keynote session on a subject that's very close to my heart. I'm a training program manager at Microsoft, and my own journey as a woman in technology has given me a passion for helping people from diverse backgrounds, and particularly women, to gain the skills, knowledge, and experience they need to be successful in our industry, which is why I'm so excited to be exploring how, by working together, we can do that better. So in our conversation today, we'll explore how to encourage leaders to think inclusively when building technical teams, the practical steps we can take to support women in technology, and how diversity provides real value to organizations by promoting innovation. We'll be joined by some other speakers a bit later on, and they're all available to answer your questions throughout. So please do put your queries to us in the Q&A window, and we'll have an open and honest conversation to help us make real change. It's clear from the evidence that the value of diversity is vast. If you think about the most innovative, disruptive, and prosperous places in the world, like London, New York, and Singapore, they all have one thing in common, and that's diversity. People from different countries, races, genders, and generations mix and mingle to produce an incredible dynamism. This is also true of the microcosm of the enterprise. Research has shown time and time again that companies with more diverse leadership teams report significantly higher innovation revenue. Thinking specifically about gender diversity, research from the Peterson Institute in 2016 revealed that companies with a 30% female share of corporate positions showed roughly a 15% increase in profitability over companies with no women in senior and board positions. But if we look further down the corporate hierarchy, in 2018, only 20% of all jobs in technology were held by women. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. In fact, anyone who works in engineering or software development will know that the proportion is lower. The percentage of female software developers globally is more like 5%. The statistics show that once they get into tech, women's careers progress much less reliably than their male colleagues. 35% of women over the age of 35 are still in junior tech positions, whereas less than 5% of men who are 35 or older are still in that junior bracket. What these statistics reveal is that despite the massive evidence showing that diversity increases profitability and makes a company more dynamic and innovative, we have a problem attracting women into technology. When we do succeed in attracting women, many are not finding an environment which gives them what they need to develop their careers. So what practical steps can we take to work towards improving the gender balance in technology? Firstly, we must develop and nurture a pipeline of women who will consider technology as their chosen career path. Skills are crucial to encouraging this aspiration. We must break down the misconceptions that in order to work in tech, you need to land as a fully formed coder with a degree in computer science. We need to show women that technology is a fantastic place to build a career, and that it can take them in many different directions. But we must also give everyone access to the skill development opportunities they need in the way that they need them to foster curiosity, knowledge, and more importantly, confidence that a career in technology is the right option for them. As well as providing access to exciting, inspiring learning experiences, showcasing relatable role models who are both aspirational but also reflective of diversity is a profound way of reaching our intended audience. The greater the range of personalities, backgrounds, skills, and experiences that we can showcase, the greater the chance we have of inspiring someone to think, that person is like me, I could do that. It's important to remember that men and women respond differently to language, and be mindful of that when we articulate career opportunities. For example, describing an ideal candidate when advertising an opportunity will exclude everyone who doesn't see themselves in that way, and it will give you a very narrow set of applicants. A better and more inclusive way to attract diverse candidates for a role is to describe how they can be successful, and then let them tell you how their skills and experiences make them ideal. Finally, we need a culture in our enterprises where women thrive, and it's up to us to create it. Far more women drop out of technology roles than men, and this is for a number of different reasons. But we must ensure that it's not because of an environment which works against women. Allyship is a key component of a culture in which women can succeed. Without it, the support that women need will always be based on concessions, and the workplace environment will never be fully inclusive. Unfortunately, the pandemic has exacerbated gender inequalities. Women are more likely than men to work in industries hit hardest by the pandemic, such as hospitality, retail, leisure, tourism, and the arts. In the first wave of the virus, women were twice as likely as men to have lost their job, according to a study by the University of Exeter in the UK. Gender pay gap in the UK reporting was cancelled in 2020 and has been delayed in 2021. Women bear the largest burden of childcare and homeschooling. They're about twice as likely as men to have had to take unpaid leave, reduce their hours, or give up work completely due to childcare requirements. All of which means that there is a significant group of capable, intelligent women out there who've been unfairly driven out of the workforce, who would be creating enormous value if given the right opportunities. With science behind us, we're cautiously approaching the end of the pandemic, and combined with the huge technology skills gap created by the pace of innovation, now is the perfect time to create opportunities for women to gain new skills and to see technology as the post-pandemic career choice. So let's talk to some industry leaders about how we can make that happen. Joining the discussion today are Vlatka Šipoš, Digital Product Strategist and Partner at Resonate, and Julia Katovsky, Strategic Projects Manager at ETC Enterprise Training Center. Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. So I'll start the questions with you, Vlatka. In your view, why is it more important than ever to be having the conversation around gender diversity in technology?
I think that it's important to have this conversation so we can be reminded to set the example. Because if you don't set the example and you don't see the example in your workplace, then it's very easy to kind of be exclusive and kind of take this gender diversity as only a topic we talk about, but we don't act. And from the business perspective, as a business owner perspective, I would say that inclusivity and gender diversity is like a missed opportunity if you don't, pay attention to that, because no one can afford today to kind of lose the opportunity of having a better team, better business, and taking into consideration a diverse team. I think it improves the quality of your business as well and the results.
Indeed. You mentioned visibility in the workplace. So Julia, how do you think remote working has affected women specifically? I mean, we've all been sent home to work from home. How do you think that this has affected women? And do you think companies should make it a permanent option in the post-COVID workplace?
Yeah, before COVID, our day was clearly divided by private time, work time. Private time in the morning, you got up, you took care of your kids, of your family, then you went to work. There you were committed to your work 100%. And afterwards you came home and you had again private time and took care of the kids. And during your work time, school or kindergarten took care of your kids. Now during the pandemic, those borders, they were like blurred, and it was a mix and match of private time and work time. And in the end of the day, I believe that the most kids' work got stuck with the women at home and not with men. Like you said in your presentation before, that twice as many women lost their jobs or were more likely to lose their jobs during the Corona pandemic. And I believe it's not just because they lost their job, because like they were working in tourism or something, but also because they had to choose between work and kids. And I think for most women, kids will win in this choice. So like you said also in your presentation, it's like a kind of unfair, it's like a bit unfair to ask women to take this choice, but still they had to take it. And now I think it is really, really important for society, for the work society, to find a solution to make this work. And I think home office is a great opportunity. Me, for example, I like the hybrid working, like some days at home and some days at work, if this is possible. And if you have children to take care of, you have to, or the society, we have to provide women the right setting to make both, to take care of kids and to take care of their work, because women are very important for work life, for companies.
Indeed. It's very interesting because I think in some ways the hybrid workplace has been very, very useful for women who have to not only homeschool, and now we get to the end of the pandemic, that actually, to have that time that's usually taken up by a commute, if you have childcare duties, that's very useful. But do you think that actually what we might end up with is a two-tier sort of structure in the office, where those who are seen to be in the office all the time are then exposed to more opportunities, and the people who choose to work from home, and that's likely to be more women, would be disadvantaged by that in their career? Do you think that's a danger?
Yeah, I think it can be a danger, because naturally it is like this when a lot of people are at work and working in the workplace, then they are seen. This is natural. If they work from home, the work is done, but the people are not seen by people, and also not by their bosses. So this does make a difference. And yes, we say in the end of the day, it's important that the work is done, but visibility is important as well. So I think for this, it's important to have a change of mindset, that that bosses, that the leader of a team that they don't compare who is here and which work is done, but that they change their mind. Like, I see you, although you're not here. I have no idea how this can work, but I think this is something that we need.
Yes, I agree. Bosses should be measuring impact rather than activity. It should be about what you produce, what you achieve, rather than, what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis. I think this is a cultural shift that needs to happen to ensure that women are not disadvantaged, because there's a lot of benefits to working from home, definitely. But we don't want to be treated like second-class citizens, and I think there's a danger in that. So, let's talk about pipelines. So Vlatka, what do you believe is holding women back during their early careers and lives when it comes to thinking about technology, technical skills, and career paths in technology?
Well, a couple of things. There's the old saying, like, you can't be what you cannot see. And I think the lack of role models and examples in your environment is something that, girls, even in school, starting very early, even at that age, can basically experience. And if they only see, men in the connected with the technology, it certainly has some impact on their decisions later when they're deciding what they are going to study and what they want to be. So I think that, putting on the spotlight more women who are in technology, but not only in the conversation about women and technology, but about the results that they have, about the products that they are building, would kind of improve that perception. That there's no pipeline of women who are capable of, working in the technology. So that's one thing. Another thing is like mentorship programs. I think that that's also a very strong and powerful tool that can basically early help girls to kind of, be mentored, to learn, to teach how these things work and what their role in technology could be. So that's just one practical, I would say, example. And I know some companies, agencies really do make an effort to kind of introduce mentorship programs, some summer camps, or even scholarships. And I would encourage more and more companies to kind of think about that, because this is what kind of brings up the new generation of female managers, leaders, in that direction.
Indeed. And I think one of the challenges is that the different career paths that are available in technology are not always visible. I mean, people think about working in technology, they tend to think software development. They don't tend to see that huge breadth of opportunities that, and all sorts of new careers that are becoming available that didn't exist. So how do you think we can best make those role models visible? What do you think we can actually do to reach those girls and women early enough to capture them?
Well, first of all, I'll start from myself. Like, my background is not technical. My major was English, and I was coming from humanities, and early I was, when I faced technology, it seemed very interesting to me. And I would say that the one thing that kind of brought me where I am today is curiosity. It was like, I want to see what's there. I wasn't at that moment like studying, computer science, and it wasn't something that it was kind of logical in my environment. But basically, being curious and encouraging, young students to kind of go to another field and see what's there is something that might open some doors which they wouldn't open otherwise. So my sharing, for example, my personal experience, where I started first of all in sales of technical solutions, and I went to production, because then again curiosity made me do it. I wanted to know how this applications are built. So I went besides to see how it's done, how these things are designed and developed. And in a way, whenever I have the opportunity to kind of on the conferences, lectures, when I share my story, I'll always get some questions after, like they like that it's possible. And having these stories out there might help some girls to kind of decide and say, well, if she can do it, I can do it. I think that these personal stories from female leaders and developers, managers from all sorts of categories is something that is really, really needed for others to hear to make that decision. So I would say that personal stories are something that really entice decision on someone else's behind.
Thank you.
Actually,
Julia,
in
what's
Austria, yeah, I just wanted to skip in on that, because actually in Austria, we do have a program, like you said. First of all, a mentoring program. And we also have a program where female role models are introducing themselves and their jobs. Because I'm in Austria, I'm involved in the Women in ICT group. And this group of really, really cool leader women, they try to encourage young females to choose a career path in technology. And like you said before, I think we have to start in the school, because what you don't know that exists, you don't know if you want to do it. And if I take me, for example, in my school, we had something called like career counseling. Basically, it was just a test that we had to take. And in my case, the test result was that I should work in a bank. But back then, in this time, I hated math. I didn't have any idea what to do with mathematics. And then I was so shocked by the result. The idea of working with numbers like on a daily basis was horrible. And afterwards, it was, I knew this wouldn't work. And I was all the time a very creative person. And I was like, how can this come out? I mean, the outcome of this test was, I didn't believe it. Yeah, and I started to study in university media and communication science. So I don't have a technology background. And if like 10, 15 years ago, someone would have told me that I will work one day in the technology business, I would have just laughed, because this was so far away. Actually, my cousin, he graduated high school on a programming high school, like IT high school. And when he told us about what he's doing in school, I was all the time like, okay, he's coming from another planet. And like a couple of weeks ago, he told me, hey, it's so cool. Now I can talk with you about C# and C++, and you know what Python is. It's not just an animal. Yeah, so I think it's really, really important to show young people what is possible. And also, we also have to show them that only because you studied something, it doesn't mean that you have to end up there. You can change your career path. You have to be curious, like you said, Vlatka. And I think you also should be courageous. And of course, you need discipline, because to study something new, to learn something new, you need to have the discipline to just do it.
Absolutely. So how important do you think it is to make digital skills available? Because obviously you mentioned curiosity, and that will get you so far, but there needs to be a level of knowledge. So what part do digital skills play, do you think, in encouraging women to follow technical career paths?
I think it's a foundation. I think it's a very, very good that everyone shows some interest in this digital world, because basically we're a part of it, so you cannot avoid it. But making this knowledge and experience deeper than the average user might have is definitely something that I would encourage, because that's the starting point. Like, that's the front end experience. And if you want to learn about how it's done, how it's kind of working from the other side, how it's functioning, you have to dig deeper and find more, what's more into it. Curiosity is again something, but then again, all these programs that are offered are something that kind of provide this additional expertise and knowledge. And whoever is interested in that might be reluctant, because they might feel like that's not for me. But having these mentorship programs, having this, as I said, scholarships and summer camps. In my youth agencies, we really did organize, even during the summer camps for young students to come there, Girls Who Code. There was many initiatives which were basically providing the hands-on experience with this digital world. And this is something that, companies who are basically future employers should do. And I really support those initiatives, because this is a ground for the digital skills development.
Absolutely. And I think you need really to get over that fear, don't you? That initial kind of sense that I can't do this, I'm not technical, I don't have the knowledge. And then actually, once you start to get involved with learning something new, you realize that actually, yes, I can do this, and I can enjoy doing this. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
So just to touch on, how do we attract more women? Because, I speak to a lot of companies and they say, well, I put out a job advert and all of the applicants were men. So what do I do? So Julia, what do you think organizations can do to attract a diverse pool of talent?
Yeah, well, that's a tricky question, I would say. First of all, I think that language is really important. In English, you do not have those kind of challenges that we have in German, because in German we have articles, and every main word has an article, and it's really important to also talk exactly to women and not just men, because in German you all the time use the male form and not the female form. And now, by the time it's getting better and more companies are adopting gender correct language, but still it's a very hard way to implement this in society. This is something you can do. And in one of my projects, we are working with a professional recruiting company, and they are approaching a new angle on recruiting. They make videos from the employers. It's not the employees who are applying. The company is applying, and if the company is applying for employees, then the company can say, okay, we want to encourage women to apply on the job. This is also something that I would recommend. This is a very cool angle to look on recruiting of this point of view. So maybe this can also help to encourage more and more women. And the third thing is that women themselves, they should just, every one of us, we are brave. Every single human being is brave. You just need to find this bravery inside of you, and you have to bring it out. And if you are brave, you can, in the end, you can do everything. So also women can, in the end, apply for any job that they want to do. They just need to have the bravery and put it out. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think we don't do ourselves any favors, because I think I read somewhere that a male applicant can look at a list of requirements for a job and say, I can, 20% of those, I've got those, so I'm going to go for it. Whereas a female will look at a job description and say, well, I've got 80%, but I don't have 20%, so I can't apply. I'm not going to get the job. So I think we're our own worst enemies in some ways. And I think that's actually where role models become really, really important. And Vlatka, you've sort of mentioned this about how important it is for role models to be visible, to motivate women. You need to be able to say, well, she's like me, and if she's done it, I can do it. So how do you think companies can use role models? How do you think they should be using role models to motivate women to pursue technical roles?
Yeah, I think that, setting up the example is truly like the best way to kind of prove that your company is kind of, supporting women in the leading positions. Or even I had the experience in one company where, the female QA tester was basically showing the initiative to become a developer, and she was supported. Today she is a developer, and I was like, this is great. This is something that, we need to share, because this is an example of how, you can transform from one role to another, and how you can grow inside not just a company, but in your career path. So this is an example how, companies can kind of use certain cases and experiences from the employees to kind of, demonstrate how they are supporting the female employees. Company culture is something which is, I think, very, very important in all of this, because, if the company culture DNA doesn't have all what we are talking about, then it's very hard to kind of break the barrier and these glass ceilings that usually are talked about. So I think that, probably the management should have this awareness, and any employee can, of course, show the initiative. And I would also encourage, female developers, project managers, salespeople as well, to kind of put this topic on the company's agenda. And whenever we find an example that maybe someone is not aware, we should point it out. Sometimes I really feel that there are much more examples, but we are just taking them for granted. Like, no one is talking about them. It's just like it happened and there she goes. But when you look back, you can really analyze it and say, well, yeah, she's actually, growing in her own career from one role to another one. And this is a great success story. Why not celebrate it? Why not, make an interview with her? Or why not send her to a conference to talk about her experience? These are all personal stories. And I would rather, always believe much more to someone's personal story than some generic presentation about, career development. So that's my point of view. I think that all of our careers are stories to tell and learn something from them.
That's a really, really interesting point. And creating the right culture is key, because there's no point in investing a huge amount of time and effort to attract women into the company if 2 or 3 years down the line they leave because it's not a comfortable place to be and they don't feel supported. So it really, really is absolutely key that the culture is supportive of women, and that comes from the top. That has to come from the top, and that has to be a top priority. It can't be something where we say, well, this is our culture, but we'll just make this concession, we'll allow this because it's something that women want, and we'll do it to keep them quiet. It has to be an absolutely integral part of the company's culture. So Julia, how can we convince people to do this? How can we articulate that a diverse culture can enhance innovation and lead to better decision making?
I think we are already doing it, and it's already happening, because if you have a look on like the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 years, like 100 years ago, women didn't have the right to vote. And I didn't know this, but until the 1970s, a wife in Austria had to ask her husband if she's allowed to go to work to like earn her own money. And this was just like 30 years ago. Okay, 40. I'm still like, sometimes I have the feeling it's still like 2004 or something. The last 10, 15 years, they are like, they got lost somewhere, somehow. So change is already happening, and we are all part of it. We are all seeing it. It's just, I believe we have to be a bit patient sometimes. And this is coming from me. I'm the most impatient person in the world that I know. But in this in this topic, we need to have patience with us and with society. And change is not coming from like in 24 hours. It's like time. And, you know, in German, we have a sentence. I tried to translate it in English. It's like a water drop, a constant water drop is putting a hole in a stone. You know, it's in German, you say, steht der Tropfen hüllt den Stein. I just didn't know how to translate it correctly in English.
Makes sense.
But I believe if we continue to bring this topic out in the public, and if we continue to talk about it, and if we can encourage more women to tell their story, like Vlatka said, every one of us has a story, a very personal story, and every story is different. No life is the same. And if we put our stories out there, so I believe that a lot of young women or young people in general will be encouraged to try something new, to get in touch with technology. And I really do believe that we are on the right way. We just need to continue.
Yeah, perfect. Okay.
If I can add one thing that just came to my mind, when we talk about the diversity, it's always like gender diversity, or some kind of these big differences and extremes. I would maybe mention that cognitive diversity, which is also something that we should have in mind, because not having women sitting around the table is one thing, but if you look at that from a different perspective, which cognitive diversity talks about, is that mixing different people with different thinking styles, different perceptions, habits, different experiences and backgrounds actually brings much more to the table than just genders. And that's what I like about the diversity, more than just talking about the gender diversity. When you think about having this a variety of experiences, backgrounds, industry, expertise at one table, this probably makes a shift into a business perspective, where diverse teams are better at making decisions because they have all these perspectives, and this is something more valuable for the teams and business owners to have in mind when thinking about the diversity. So it's not just gender. This is what I wanted to say, because we're always talking this gender varieties and issues, but I think that looking at the positive side of diversity and what it can include is actually valuable for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a huge subject, diversity, and obviously it covers diversity in all forms. So we're approaching the end of the session, and I just wanted your final thoughts on one point. We can't do this on our own. We can talk about it amongst ourselves. I think we all share a common view, but we need allies. We need male allies. We need allies. It's really, really important that everybody's on board and everybody's behind this. So just your final thoughts, please, on what role can allies play in helping to create this culture and drive change? Julia.
Well, I believe that networks are a basic foundation to get this kind of mindset, to get this kind of change. And it is really important that different networks are mingling with each other. Like, not that one branch is talking and being for themselves and their own, and the other one too, but that they come together. But what we have to do is to create a platform where everyone can meet and where we have open discussion and where we can also connect openly without fear.
Absolutely. Vlatka, what are your thoughts on allyship?
I would maybe encourage finding an ally, not waiting for ally to kind of show up or be presented. I have one just short story. I read Michelle Obama biography, and she had a story when she was on an interview, job interview. The question she asked was not what my mobile phone or computer will be like, what type or size. It was like, who will be my mentor? And that was the question that kind of should be on your list when having a job interview, because you should ask for that. You should ask for the mentor in your workplace, and even ask for a certain role model in your environment that you kind of appreciate, and you want to maybe take the opportunity to ask her to kind of be your mentor. And that's something that I encourage. So for that reason, maybe mentorship and finding the right mentor is key to your career growth and path.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, that feels like a really great note to end the conversation on. And it's fantastic that as an industry, we're beginning to really recognize and understand these challenges. And although there's more to be done, having these conversations and acting on them is a great step in the right direction. So let's all keep pushing for change that keeps pace with the advancement of our industry. So thank you so much to my guests, Vlatka Šipoš and Julia Katovsky, for their insights. And back to you, Michael. Thank you.
Absolutely incredible, Jane. I was glued to my seat watching that. And if you take a look at the comments as well, on the speaker group, you'll be able to see that people are certainly responding in the right way. What an exceptionally important topic, and one that we must all be aware of and consider in our working lives. The value of diversity and inclusivity is immeasurable. And I love the comment, Jane, that you made straight up in the beginning there, when you were talking about the major cities of the world are the most diverse cities in the world. And it's absolutely true. When you look at people who interact with other people from different backgrounds, cultures, religions, sexes, wow, it really comes to the fore enormously. And that's where education literally broadens the mind in many respects as well. That old woman's saying, that old housewives saying, as they used to call them, travel broadens the mind. I don't know who those old housewives were, but they were some smart people, let me tell you. Travel does broaden the mind, because what it does, it allows you to interact with people, places, differences, and let you understand the value of diversity and inclusivity in so many individual respects. I'm really enjoying this morning. Wow. And there's so much more to come.